Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to FX Maniac. This is Syed Mahmoud Amiri again, and welcome to my very first 3ds Max tutorial. And in this one I'm going to be showing you guys how to create this awesome ground explosion effect using Tyflow, which we're going to be taking a look at. And this effect is actually inspired by one of the videos I've done like a while ago, and I posted on my YouTube channel. Basically, if you go to FX Maniac, my YouTube channel, which if you haven't already subscribed, I would it would mean a lot to me if you just subscribe and keep up with my latest tutorials and videos. If you go here, this is ground destruction with Vray fire and Tyflow. On that time there was no Tyflow yet, but yeah, this is the effect basically that I did. Like, I simulated the large pieces using Vray fire, and I added some extra particles using these extra small particles are done using Tyflow. So when I post this video, like some people were asking about a tutorial. These two people like, please make a tutorial out of this and stuff. So I'm like, okay, I need to do it, but I need to do it in a way where everybody can follow. So now that we have Tyflow, then I've done this result inside of Tyflow, and I'll show you guys how to do it with Tyflow. And basically, if you don't have Tyflow, you can just go into like a new tab and go into Tyflow. And here it is, download Tyflow, and you can click in here, and it'll take you to the page. Choose your Vray version, like the normal Vray or Vray Next, and then you can download it and install it for your 3ds Max, and you can start using it. So basically, this is the effect that we're going to make. So let's get on with it. And if I click on render, I'm going to show you guys like how to set up a basic lighting also. So it kind of basically looks like this. Alright, so let's get started. I'm gonna go create a new scene, file, reset, and I'm just gonna go ahead here we have Tyflow, so I'm just gonna basically create a box and like give it a bit of thickness and hit F4 to see the edges. And I want to make sure that is on 0, 0. Just basically right click on these spinners to zero them out. And yeah, this is going to be our basic box or a floor that is going to explode. So what I'm going to do is go into Tyflow and create a little Tyflow icon, and I'm going to go into the modify tab, open editor, and this is basically the Tyflow editor. So I'm just going to move it like to this side, and I would recommend using a double monitor setup for like if you're using Tyflow or Tyflow inside 3ds Max, but right now we don't have it, so just gonna stick with this one. I'm just gonna add a birth objects operator, and I'm just gonna select this object pick and just hide this. So now we have this single little particle here, but we just want to see the shape. So I'm just gonna go into display, and I'm gonna change it to geometry, so that now you can see the geometry being there. And what I'm gonna do is, the next thing I'm gonna do is I need to fracture this. So there's an operator called Voronoi fracture, which you can hit tab, and you can just select it and put it there. The voice is too much, the sound. So I'm just gonna put this Voronoi fracture there, delete this, and you can see that's already fractured, but we can change it to like what, 500. So we have a lot of pieces, and you have different shapes here. You can just go down, change it to like sphere maybe, and you can just click off this constraint, and you can just do a bunch of different things that you want. Size, you can make it small or big or whatever. Okay, I'm not going to get into too much detail, just want to create the effect. So maybe I'll change this to like this, and maybe a little bit of X, just like this. Alright, the next thing that we're going to do is we need to create some bombs to be able to explode it in the certain areas that we want. So what I'm going to do is go into the space words, and I'm going to go into forces, and there's like P bomb. So I'm just going to draw one out here like this much. And the thing that is very important here is you need to turn on this range indicator and decrease the range, which basically kind of determines the area of the bomb, the area that's going to explode. So if I was supposed to put it here, it's only going to explode this much area. Otherwise, if you don't use this, it's going to explode the whole thing. So in order to see this effect in action, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a force, hit tab and add a force operator, and I'm going to pick this bomb. And you can see in this bomb settings that the start time is frame 30. So if I go into this frame 30, you can see that it's going to explode. But the thing is, it's just going to go, you know, to eternity because there's no physics involved right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this down a bit so that it goes up like this. And I can change the strength to maybe like 10 so that it just explodes, boom, like this. And what I need to do is to make the simulation dynamic, I need to add a few things. First off, I'm going to add a physics shape. Okay, I'm going to add that. So now it's going to be like a physics sim, which they're going to be kind of interacting with each other like this. Now, because the particles are kind of interacting with each other, we need to increase the force even more, like 20, so that we can see some more of the effect. So now you can see that it's there, like this. And the thing about Tyflow is you just need to play it, and then you need to go to the time settings and make sure that real time is off, so that it processes every single frame. So now you can see that it's there. And the other thing that we need is a particle physics, which is basically, you know, we're going to be adding some, you know, extra particles later, so it's going to make sure that even those particles have like an interparticle collision between them, just to make sure. And yeah, this is basically it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this frame to like 15 or 10, and I'm going to control D, not control D doesn't work, it's in Maya, so shift drag here this bomb, and I'm just going to put it like here, and I'm going to add it to the force, this one too, and I make sure that it starts from frame like 20 so that there's a 10 frame delay between the two. So right now if I play this, you can see that from frame 10, actually both of them starts at frame 10. So let's see here, start frame at 20. Okay, why do they start at the same time? It's quite interesting. Let's see here. This one starts at 10, which is good. This one should start at 25. Let's see. Yeah, now maybe there's like a simple bug or something, but yeah, now it's fine. It starts at 25. All right. The next thing that I'm going to do is I need these particles, these pieces, to kind of break even more as they kind of fly, or just keep as they explode. So what I'm going to do is I need to add a test. It's called the property test, which is basically what it's going to do is it's going to test certain values of these particles. And what it's going to do is it's going to output a value, and if that is true, then we can do something like, you know, something like whatever we want. So it's basically a test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to the test type, and I'm going to select velocity magnitude, which is basically the speed of the particles, and we say if it is greater than 20, make sure you're in a frame that is like it takes less time to evaluate. So I'm going to go into, if it's greater than 20 or 21, I'm going to fracture them even more. So what I'm going to do is add another Voronoi fracture, which is basically here, and I'm just going to plug in this value. And to just see this effect even better, I'm just going to change this to like red. So now if I hit F4, you can see that if those particles move greater than 20, which seems to be very much right now, change it to 10. Now you can see those pieces turning red, but they're small dots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to like geometry. Now you can see those pieces break even more because the speed is greater than 10. So now you can see we have a lot more particles. And if I hit F4, let's see here. Yeah. And the other thing that I forgot is we need to add a physics bind also, which is going to make it a little bit more better, I guess. And like it will just make it look like the pieces are like kind of together, but we need to enable this option, bind breaking with force. So if the force is too much, then it's going to break the bind between the particles. Okay, it's not that much necessary, but you know, like I've just added in the main example, so it's fine. And I'm just going to shift drag this on this one too. So we'll just let it calculate, and now you can see that it's there. Yeah, so this is the one, and you can change it to a lot more particles. If you go into the Voronoi fracture, it's only 10. I can change it to like 40, you know, and we're gonna have a lot more pieces, like see this much. And if you don't like the color, just like display, take this and shift drag on top of this so that they look the same. So now you can see that they kind of break into a lot more smaller pieces. But yeah, we don't want it to be that much. We will do another kind of secondary debris particles, but I just wanted to show you guys that you can do it. Like 40 is a little too much, so I'm just going to go back and I'm going to change it to like 20, and the variation to like 65. So I basically want different sized pieces to be coming out of these like this. And now I'm going to do another like property test here, shift drag, and we're gonna do the same thing again. If the velocity is more than a certain value, like 15, then we're going to do another event, which is spawn another operator. I'm just going to connect it, this property, to this, and I'm gonna set it to like what, 5 offspring, so basically 5 particles will be generated out of each one. And I'm just going to change this color to like red. So let's see, maybe because none of them are moving, you know, to this speed, so I'm just going to change it to like 10, and let's see if we get some particles. Yeah, we do get some particles, but we don't want it to be that much. See, the main particles are basically gone. So because in this thing there's an option, I guess, no, this is not on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into the property test, and I'm going to change this to like 12 so that we have some particles left. Yeah, or 14 even, maybe 13, and then we have like some particles. We can change the number of them. Just change the type to geometry, and now we have a lot more particles. And the good thing about them is that we can go ahead and go into the spawn, and we can use a slow modifier to just slow them down because they're moving a little too fast, I guess. And I'm just gonna change it to like 8, like it's gonna slow it down on the 3 axes by the value of 8. And we can go into the inheritance properties, and I can change the inherited. It's basically the speed or the velocity. I'm just going to give it a bit of variation, like 60%, not a bit, like a lot. And then I'm going to change the divergence, sorry, to 75. It's just gonna make it like spread all over rather than like a simple pattern. So yeah, now you can see that they all kind of spread. But now the good thing is you can just now increase the number of particles just by increasing the spawn value. So if I change this to like 10, so out of each one of those particles there's going to be 10 more particles generated, and we're going to have a lot more pieces like this. And the good thing about this is I can take this display again and just make it like one single piece. The good thing is now it's completely like procedural. So what I can do is I can just now you can see that these pieces are a little kind of moving in a very weird way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into the spawn and increase this. And I don't know which one of the particles are these. I'm just going to change this to like 30. These particles look very weird. These are the main particles. Yeah, I guess. Yep, main particles. So what you can do, you can just go in here into the main Voronoi fracture, and I'm just going to change it to like 750 so that we have some smaller pieces, which hopefully doesn't look too weird. Yeah, now it's fine. Yeah, I think it's a bit crazy, but you get the idea, right? Yep. So yeah, we got this crazy sort of ground breaking thing, and what I'm gonna do is I can change this to like clay so that we can see it a little better, but I guess it's a little too much. What I can do is I can go into, not particle flow, Tyflow, and I can go into the spawn and change it to like what, 4, so that we don't have as many particles as we have right now. So now it's a little better, I guess. And if you want to, you can add like a scale modifier or something to basically kind of change the size of these particles and make them small so that they're not as much big as they are right now. So maybe I can change like 40%, and now you'll see that these particles are going to be smaller, which I guess looks better. Yeah, kind of like this. Yeah, so yeah, this is basically the effect, and it's completely procedural. You can just add another like shift drag one more of this and change it to like what, 40 frames, and just add it to the force pick and pick it up. Now you can see that if I play it, we have one of this effect, and then the second one, and then on frame 40 we have the third one, which is basically exploding and giving us all these crazy destruction thing, which looks good. And let's see here, let's see about the lighting. So I'm just gonna basically go ahead into this Tyflow open editor. I'm just gonna add a mesh to each one of these. So if you want to render them, you do need a mesh. Shift drag this mesh to all of the nodes or the events, and you need to have Vray. So I'm just going to change my renderer to Vray Advanced and create like a Vray plane from here. And I'm sorry if I'm going a little fast. I'm assuming that you know the basics of 3ds Max and like Vray and stuff, and I need to add a concrete material to the floor. So I'll go to this concrete texture, and I'm just going to select Tyflow and apply it, and I'll just add a Vray sunlight, not Arnold, Vray sun, and I'm just going to drag it like this, and yes, so I'm just going to push it back and move it up. And the other thing I did, if you want to create that slow motion effect, this slow-mo like this, you can just go into Tyflow and use the retimer. So I just enabled it by speed, and I changed it to like what, 25 or 26%. So now you can see if I increase the timeline, Control Alt, hold Control Alt, and right click and drag. If I play this now, it's slow motion. If you want it to be even more, you can just make it like what, 15% or 14%. So it's very slow right now, and you need more frames. So Control Alt and drag with right click, and now it's like basically going slow motion. So yeah, that's basically it. And I'm just going to go into the render setup and make like an interior thing, and I'm gonna go change this to like 1280 by 720. I'm going to GI, basically some very simple things, ambient occlusion. Yeah, I'm gonna render this, and now you can see it's pretty bright, because we need to go into the environment controls, and I'm just going to add the exposure to Vray exposure control. So if I render this now, you can see that everything looks fine, and we have these particles, and I guess it's a little bright still. So what I'm going to do is go into the Vray light, change the intensity to like 0.5, and now render this again, and now we have our effect, which basically looks good, not bad. Yeah, I know I've gone through this a bit quick, but the thing is that, you know, you get the idea, right? So if you guys have any questions, any things that you kind of missed during the tutorial, or you know, didn't understand, you can just post them in the comment. But I just wanted to make sure that I've done this effect for the people who have asked for it. I'm just going to change the floor to be a bit like dark desaturated blue. And you know, it's been a while since I did a tutorial, and I haven't done any 3ds Max tutorials, so this was like a good kind of excuse to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it, and as always, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more and more tutorials, and I'll be posting a lot more in the next couple of weeks and days, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you turn on your notification, and as I always say, till next time, enjoy working.